Hi everybody. Today I would like to talk about something that most of us have probably used a lot in the past. It's an application by Google that has really come a long way in the recent past here. They've added a lot of extra features and really made it nice to use in the classroom. I'm talking about Google Earth. Google Earth is used to be an old pixelated program that usually wasn't very quick to work, and some of the awesomeness has come from the fact that we have a lot better internet connection than we used to. But really, they have come a long way with what they make available to students and teachers and just everybody, really, to be able to explore the world with. So, at a first glance, what you'll notice is when you zoom in on Google Earth now, there are a lot of different photographs that pop up. These can be toggled off by coming over here and toggling your photos on and off. But really, for right now, we'll leave those on. Those are very neat to take a look at. They let your students get a good, quick glance at different parts of the world and be able to explore it more thorough later. So we can click up here to Alaska and get some pictures of the seashore and some of the mountains, and maybe we want to go over here to, let's say, Australia. We can get some pictures of Australia and get a good idea, and boy, isn't that beautiful, just to be able to explore different areas of the world and see what you would see if you were there. Certainly it does go to show that if you do ever have the opportunity to travel on your own to actually go to these places, there's nothing like eating the cuisine and actually experiencing the culture firsthand. But for those of us who can't do that all the time, Google Earth is certainly a neat way to actually take and view the world. And one other neat feature that they came out with was what they like to call the Google Voyager application, which is this little ship steering wheel over here. I believe I am still having trouble opening that up on the recorder, so I'll just toggle over to the tab that I have pre-opened for us. In this, basically they take and mark out different places on the map where students can go through and actually explore all the different like European ski resorts or different chalk figures in Europe, maybe some of the outdoor ice rinks across the world. This one's really neat. The Underground Railroad, you can actually follow the path that the slaves took to freedom. Bobsleigh tracks around the world, and maybe the following of the torch, which was over in Korea during the Olympics. Pyeongchang, Seoul, capital of South Korea, and just different things along that line. So one of my favorites is actually the chalk figures, and these are just some of the editor's picks. You can go through like travel and nature and all that, but we'll check out the England chalk figures. And what you do is you want to click on that and wait a second, and what it'll do is go ahead and tag those on the map, and as you'll see, it'll bring up a little flyby as you go to each of them, giving us just a little bit of information on each one of these figures. We can see that the Uffington White Horse is about 360 feet long, 100 feet wide, and it's a 3,000-year-old hill figure that was carved down here with chalk underneath there, and just beautiful. You can see that this is really something that you wouldn't see every day. And if we want to go ahead and take a look at the next figure, we can go ahead and click next. And this is the Long Man of Wilmington. So we can take a look at him and just see how awesome he is. And while we're in Wilmington, you wouldn't want a street view over the Long Man himself because it's really just field, but we can go ahead and street view. I'm sure you've all seen the Google truck going by with all the cameras that takes pictures outside your house. This is what this is, and it allows you to zoom in and really just get a view of what's down there. So we can take a look at some of the architecture, some of the different towns. that are around the world and just see how they might differ from ours. And there's little arrows that you can arrow down the lane and just kind of get a good idea of what's going on around the world, and get more than just the overview picture. So you can see that there's a lot of old stone buildings here. Most of these are probably very old, and just a beautiful little town. So actually, that's really cool. Look at that. That's an old telephone booth. That's something that you wouldn't see every day in the U.S. And actually, I do believe, I'll arrow down here, I do believe there's actually a very old car down here on this street. Maybe not, but I do believe there's some Porsches. Just stuff that you, again, wouldn't see every day in the U.S. And that really opens the students' eyes to what's out there other than just their own hometown. So we can go ahead and escape here. And, oh, yep, there's that old car I was talking about. One thing else, though, that I wanted to bring up is Google has a new program that I haven't yet been able to access. I do believe it's a very new program, and so it might just be something that's not quite available yet. But they have what's called This Is Home. And this allows students to basically go through different cultures and different areas of the world and actually go inside of homes of maybe people who live in Europe versus those that live in Asia, and actually explore the traditional home that kids around the world would have grown up in. And what this allows them to do is do what we all do. Most of us, the first place that we go on the map after we pull up Google Earth is not where we wish to go, or not where we'd like to see, but our home, where we're sitting, usually currently, and that's okay. I mean, it's a very egocentric view of the world, but that's okay. So I can go ahead and take it into mine a little bit. Let's go here to Edinburgh. That's Splash Lagoon. Here's 79 winding down from Erie. And let's see here. Is this Edinburgh? That looks like a big Walmart plaza. And it is. I do believe my truck is parked somewhere in there. That's the funny thing about Street View and looking at all this stuff is you'll find that your car is parked in like 10 different places, and it's just kind of neat. Like, oh, I was there. Or you might be that lucky person who happened to be driving down the road as they were filming the Street View. But this is going to be your Edinburgh, and here's the college, there's the university, nice beautiful pond that nobody fishes out of. And if we keep going down 99, we will shortly get to Cambridge Springs, which is my town of home. I'm actually right between Edinburgh and Cambridge Springs, but I am right around here. Let's see here. So easy to get discombobulated on this app. There's Land Pro, so my house is gonna be right down here. Nice Scouting Town. Here's Big B's. And right here's my house. Right off of Plank Road. And I'm up there on the hill, and again my truck is outside. And actually it's outside in another spot. And kids can keep exploring, and you know, this is good for them to really understand how the world is put together. There's the Allegheny National Forest. We go ATVing there all the time. And right in here is Du Bois and Brookville, Clarion, and Knox. And Knox, I have a little camp in. Very proud of it. We spend a lot of the summer there. The population was, let's see here, about 1,100 people. Just a little town, but an awesome place to visit. And as you can see, right off the highway there's my campground. All the lanes are listed there. Blueberry Hill is where my mom got drugged down by the dogs one time, and her knees were very skinned, and I was very much in her belly at that time. And right there is my truck actually pulling my brother-in-law's trailer, and that is my camper right there. So you can just see how fun it is to explore the world. And I'm somebody who has always traveled a little bit, so I can pick out just about a state and zoom right in and find maybe a campground that I might have stayed in. And that's just neat. But for those of you who can't do that and don't have the opportunity to go out and see the world all the time on your own, it's very neat to be able to go around Google Earth and actually be able to see different parts of the world in this such way. That brings me to my next point, which is going to be the I'm feeling lucky dice. Students might actually want to take and explore different parts of the world and compare them. You could always have them, do a project recording different screenshots from Google Earth and take a look at different parts of the world and learn stuff about each of them, and then in the end compare with one another. Well, it just took us to Berg Park, Wilhelmshaven, if that's how you pronounce it. But basically, we're in Germany, and we can take and zoom in and take a look at the area around. Maybe take a look at Street View. In this case, there's a few photos. This one, very beautiful castle there. And yeah, that is gorgeous. And just really be able to explore the different parts of the world. And when they get done, looking at that certain area and recording some things that they've noticed, maybe about architecture, maybe about the land area, whatever you feel is more important for the class, they can roll again. And really, all of us are going to be little explorers at some point in our lives, and I think this just gives students an awesome way to really just look into the world and learn a lot about the different parts of it. So right now we're in Santorini, which, as you can see, is a little teeny tiny island, and it's right down there south of Bulgaria, next to Turkey, and right north of Africa. And we can take a look at some of those pictures there to get a good view. And frankly, this is the first time I've seen these as well. And it looks like Santorini is a place that maybe you or I might want to visit someday. Very, very beautiful. Yeah, wow, look at that. Those old boats. Just something that you wouldn't see every day. So, I think the biggest thing is just having students, it's okay to let them explore a little bit, but have a way to encompass that into your classroom. And that brings me to some of my teaching points as we scroll through some of these pictures. Have students explore their hometown. Have them take a look at places that they've been and places that they want to go. And in all that, you can have them take a screenshot and talk about each of these places. Maybe compare them. And really just have them learn a lot just from looking through Google Earth, because there's no reason that you can't do that. It's a great activity for the younger ages to, look at their own home and maybe look at places that they've been and places they want to go. But as you step into those older ages and look for more complex topics, certainly you would want to consider history and the social studies themselves. You can have them compare foreign lands to one another. So let's say we're looking right now at Santorini. We can have them, maybe compare that to that of North Korea. And how do those compare geographically, wise, and architecturally, and all the other, important things. And, how might that relate to known facts about political status or economic status of these places? It's really important to be aware of the world around you, and this is going to help tie that in for them. And another thing that you can have them do is look at controversial areas, such as maybe the Korean border, and look at how that border maybe is different on either side. Sometimes the grass is greener on the other side. Not usually, but sometimes that is the case. And you can really have students firsthand view that. It's something to learn about that in a textbook, but to really understand it, I think that Google Earth is the best way to put that into perspective. Now, places like North Korea, you may not be able to use Street View, but you can still get a good idea of maybe some of the differences between them just from zooming in on the camera. One of the next things that you can have them do is go ahead and use the map in the classroom to explain battles and things like that. As we showed the Underground Railroad before, you can actually take and with things such as battles across the world, or even here at home, such as the Civil War, you can take and show them the different parts of the world, and especially on the smart board, take and maybe draw how the troops in the North and South may have traveled in the red and blue for Confederate and Union soldiers. And that certainly would give students a better idea of, how the Civil War itself worked, or maybe another war. Maybe we want to talk about World War II and D-Day and how the troops, made it to that embankment, and maybe some of the ways that they made their way around the beach and up to basically take over and win that battle that day. Again, don't forget that if you want to get rid of those photos, if they're in the way of your teaching, go ahead and just toggle those off. But just another really neat way to be interactive with your students and show them. I had a teacher once who did teach this way, especially the battles in the Civil War. It was an early American history class, and really students just tend to remember those kinds of things. One of the next things that you can do is go over the different flybys, the different pop-ups that we were shown, and have them plan a trip and use the information given to them through Google Earth to actually talk about the places that they've gone and maybe want to go. Those flybys actually do give a wealth of information about the place in a short tidbit, such as this one here in Santorini that popped up, or maybe Paraguay. And you can actually click on these and it will expand the information even further. And lastly, you can actually have them do scavenger hunts that you've set up. Maybe have them look at different architecture or different wonders of the world, such as different parks and whatnot in the U.S. Obviously, we have a wealth of protected land, such as Yellowstone or the Badlands, all the places that you normally want to go see, or even like waterways. And basically go hunt for these areas and take a look at the actual, geography of these areas. Maybe you want them to look at some of the mountain ranges over in Asia, and boy, some of those are quite incredible. And we can zoom right in here, and I do believe that they actually have photos of those ranges that you can take a look at. But if not, of the particular one that you're interested in, they certainly would have flybys. So actually, here's one right here. Yeah, boy, look at that mountain range, just beautiful. And really truthfully, something interesting for the students to study. It's probably something that they've never seen before. But yeah, these are all great ways to incorporate Google Earth into your classroom and really get kids involved. It's certainly truthful that interaction of students really does play a huge role in the success of their education. And students don't memorize stuff just by staring at a book all the time. It's sometimes good to pull out that smart board and get them moving on a map. And frankly, it's good for them to be able to put those cardinal directions into play and know how to bounce around the globe. And hopefully this will be something that will help them not only in their studies, but help them learn to want to really explore their world and the things in it. Certainly some of the best explorers and some of the best scientists and discoverers in the world had a good understanding of the world and how it worked. So just a very neat tool to use in your classroom, and I hope that you find use for it as I have. Have a wonderful day and happy teaching, folks.